preserving the vast customs of a vibrant cultural heritage.
Welcome to Darshan America, folks. We come to you from Washington, D.C. My name is Ramesh Bhutani.
And I'm Aastha Verma.
Now there is a big budget battle. They call it Ryan Care and Obama Care. It's a budget battle that is really going to be most important in the lives of all Americans. I don't know if you've ever understood this budget, but in simple terms, folks, all of you pay about $1.1 trillion in taxes. The businesses kick in $329 billion. That's the taxes they pay. You also pay $925 billion in Social Security taxes. Now you add that up, and this comes to about $2.6 trillion. $2.6 trillion is what we call an income in any company. You know.
So when you're balancing your checkbook, those are your revenues.
Those are your revenue. Those are the type of checks you can write. Now, spending. Spending is $3.7 trillion. You do the math, and it's 3.7 minus 2.6. You have a deficit of $1.1 trillion.
Every year. Every single year. Wow.
It is a no-brainer that this budget needs to be relooked at.
There is, but where do you find the room to do this? I mean, when we balance our checkbooks at home, we have the mortgage, right? It eats up the largest chunk of our checks. And here, the U.S. government is carrying several mortgages, if you will, right? It's carrying the Social Security mortgage.
No, actually, Social Security, they collect $925 billion, and they give out $767 billion.
Okay, well, that's actually not bad, okay? But defense is another mortgage that we carry, which is over $724 billion.
That's right. So defense has to be looked at for cuts. Income security, $532 billion. I don't know exactly what that is.
They're not very specific about what that is, but I'm assuming that has something to do with securitization of assets, maybe?
I don't know what that is. That's okay. Medicare is $495 billion, and health care is $362 billion. That totals around $850 billion. That's Medicare and Medicaid. Imagine you pay $1.1 trillion in taxes, and you all take out $850 billion in Medicare and Medicaid.
At least very little left for everything else.
That's right. So what is Ryan Care? Congressman Paul Ryan says, look, the reason we pay $850 billion is because the payments go to the providers third party. Mm-hmm. Third party in the sense is if you were going to pay, that somehow things will be cheaper, you can shop better, you can do stuff better than what the government can do. He wants to take that out. What he wants to do is to give you the money, subsidize you, so that you can buy the insurance and you can fight for a good price and you can fight for the shopping. If you don't think you're that sick and you're young and, you can keep the money. In other words, a no-brainer type of a deal where he says, look, it's not sustainable. In 10 years, this whole thing will be so big. So what he wants to do is slowly take the money out and empower you to buy the health care yourself.
And that's where the trouble starts.
That's right.
One thing that I was surprised by as a statistic, did you know 85% of Medicare costs are generated by just 25% of patients?
That's right.
These are your critically ill patients, the one that cost a lot of money to keep them alive, basically. And that's just the way it is. If these people were forced into a situation where they're being subsidized into that health care, many of them couldn't afford to live because they just simply cannot afford these costs unless they're somehow part of the Medicare system, even if they were given vouchers. The whole idea behind Paul Ryan's healthcare plan is that people, by having the ability to choose, will choose smarter options than what the government will provide. It'll drive down costs, and therefore we'll recoup our money back. That's the whole theory. Let me read you this quote. The theory behind Ryan's health plan is that if individuals have to pay for their health care, they will shop carefully and drive down costs. But the problem is, health is an unusual economic good and is unlikely to follow the usual market patterns. In other words, it's unpredictable. You can't predict it the way you can predict the markets. So just because you have this idea that if you give people empowerment to buy their own health care, they're going to do things a certain way, you can't expect that. If they're forced into choices about food on the table versus health care, they're going to choose food on the table.
That's very true. Now, for instance, you're right on the track. In the last years of your life, in the last 5 years, you spent as much as $1 million on your health just to keep you alive for those last 5 years. How does that change? You're going to have to choose between, hey, do I want food on the table or do I want to pay for my health care? But those are the.
Do I want to be alive to eat it?
But those are the choices we make every single day. What is so different at the end of the life? It's because it's free care. You know, Medicare is free. Do whatever you want to do, as much as you want to do. But what this does is stops that. Now, he did not go into Social Security because same argument is being made on Social Security. You keep giving this money out. Now, the idea being that in Social Security, if you were to take the money that you send it to the government in your own savings account, and somehow you can't touch it, if that was the requisite that you cannot touch it, well, then you will be in charge and you will know how much money you're getting when you retire. So basically what we are saying is, yes, it is going to cost you less if you take the spending in your own control.
Or so we think. I mean, this is getting interesting from a political front. This is becoming very interesting because up until now you've heard of Obamacare and all the problems with it. Now you've got Ryan Care, which also has problems. It's not as if either program is going to satisfy the American public. Somewhere in the middle is the right answer here. But in this case, it was almost like a duel, you know, Western-style duel with the president and Paul Ryan, you know, who's going to be the first at the table and pull and draw their plan first. In this case, it was Republican Paul Ryan. And I think in some ways,
he's courageous.
He's courageous.
He's so brave. I mean, third rail of politics is you don't talk about Medicare, you don't talk about Social Security.
He put it out there. I mean, he laid down the gauntlet, if you will, in a way for the president to now respond. Up until now, the president has sort of been resting back on his heels, saying, I don't want to be the first one to make these sets of proposals because it won't be, they won't be well received. Well,
but he was forced into making a proposal.
Yes, now he is.
And you take a look at that proposal, and of course that has guidelines from the commission that he's